Analysis, you've actually gotten back to the stakeholders, you got the confirmation from them, you've got the validation done, you've sorted out any queries, you got the clarifications from them back, and then now you're trying to, you've done the analysis of that. You, as I said, you do a lot of affinity analysis, diagramming, you do mind mapping, you try and connect all those dots, look at the ideas, design ideas, what are the solutions, what are the design ideas, what are the pain areas, challenges, what could be done, what are the kind of features that we can have, the epic stories, everything, all of those things are done. They're now ready. Now you would need to communicate that information, the findings, insights coming from those analysis that you've done, different kinds of analysis. And you would like to again go back to the stakeholders and say, hey, this is what I have learned from you. This is the kind of thing that we found from these interviews, these are the insights, the analytics, the information that we gathered, that we elicited from the last few studies or workshops or interviews or whatever it is that you've done. And this is the things that we would like to present back to you, our findings, our insights. So there are different ways. So you can have formal documentation. So basically you come up with a huge Word document, but because people do not have time, what I would do is I would actually there are two versions I would create. One is a longer version with all the details, everything is a detailed report. And then that would actually be running into typically about 500, 600 pages, because it has got all the insights and all the things coming in from each of the interviews. What is the level? The granularity would be from very high level all the way down to the details. So if they want to, they can actually kind of drill down. They can actually look at the details, how I can say something is right or wrong. In fact, I'll show you that tomorrow, or day after tomorrow, I'll show you a report of an example or a sample report of this that I presented for the stakeholders from coming in from the interviews, all the user interviews I've done. So there is a huge 300, 400 page document. Then there is a small version of that, just about 5-pager, because this is meant for targeted for the executive. So you would create a 5-pager, just very high level. This is the things that we're going to do. And these are the action points, the roadmap. And then perhaps you can actually come up with a presentation as well, which is you try and get all these biggies or people who have got the rights, big stakeholders who've got the stake into this product development or process. And then you arrange a meeting, you present your high level understanding. You don't really go into detail, but you just try and present some quotes, maybe some kind of charts, infographics in such way. You try and present this information saying that this is how we went about doing this work. These are the kind of people that we've spoken to. This is the kind of information we have gathered in the last few interviews and workshops. And from these, we did analysis, and this is the kind of high-level findings and insights that we gathered, and this is what we should do from this. So we present all of that perhaps in a very crisp presentation to them. And informal documentation, again, you've got diagrams, matrices, mind maps, infographics, all of these things you can try and use, and then corroborate your report, your findings in a much better way. So different ways to present and communicate. So here, with this communication of business analysis information activity, here you've got inputs, again, business analysis information. We've got the stakeholder engagement approach. How did we engage? What kind of methods and techniques we've adopted? What did we do? What did we gather? What did we learn? And then you try and, again, in terms of your methodology that you're proposing, you can propose that, and then you can say that this is the kind of report that we've gathered. This is how we have collected the information. So you're trying to propose again the information management approach there. You're going to use that kind of a task to deliver to them. So that's what you do in here. And then once you do this, the output obviously is that set of presentations, the Word documents, the reports, PDFs, all those things, the data sheets, the fact sheets, the product roadmap, the requirements, epic or product roadmap in terms of the backlog. All of those could be your outputs from this exercise, from this activity. So again, communication plan basically would help you understand how you're going to communicate with what stakeholders at what level. Again, remember the stop. So you can't go to the low level and too detailed information to the senior executives because they don't have the time or they're not interested in the details. There is other set of people who are interested in details. So for them, you present. So depending on the target audience or your group, you would then try and structure your communication plan or your results and the findings from the elicitation exercise. And then you need to tailor that and present it either you in a meeting, or you can do a walkthrough. You can actually have some kind of a targeted session, one-to-one. If there are really people on the ground kind of a person, then you can actually have arrange a session with them and then explain, this is how we can come up with the product idea or design or whatever. And then what we need to understand here is, if you really want to do this kind of context setting, this kind of information exchange and communication with the stakeholders, you would need to consider a set of factors. One is obviously, what do you want to communicate? What do you want to tell them? Do you want to give all the details, or do you want to just give enough detail for them, just so that then quickly jump into the action plan? What do we as a business need to do? What is the roadmap? What is the kind of work that we should have? What kind of features should we have in a product? And then you also need to say how the information needs to be stated. Is it in the form of, for example, if it's a business person, you would need to give them a very high level plan in terms of when that would be done. So it's a plan. If it's a technology person, you need to talk still in terms of the functional stuff, what needs to be done, but more in terms of how that could be achieved. So the plan, the project plan, or the technology stack that needs to be there in place, the resources that you would need to have. So those are the kind of, again, it depends really on who are going to be the target audience for your report or the findings. And then you need to channel, and you need to kind of give a twist to the same data, but in a way that is palatable to that kind of a stakeholder. And what is the optimum way to deliver the information? Is it better to actually arrange a workshop just so that I can, or a meeting so that I can just run them through a walkthrough of this report, so that I can take questions? Or is it better first send an email out with the short one, with the 5-pager, so that everybody gets an idea of what I'm talking about? That gives them a high level view of what has been done, what has come out of the studies, and what is going to be the impact on the way that we are doing the work, the roadmap. And then after the email is sent out, maybe schedule a meeting with the next level people, just so that they can discuss the details. So again, the operational, the tactical people, you can get them into a room, and then you can discuss. You can get into a lot more detail than the high level thing. And then you can present them, okay, now that we've gotten so much information, such and such context rich stuff, this is what I propose to do. This is what we are going to go ahead with. These are the features we need to focus on. This is how we can deliver. This is a roadmap, right? So again, once this is done, then we can have, just like the communication plan we discussed earlier, we need to identify if that needs to be done in a more regular, more frequent fashion. So it's not one stop, it's not just a one-time activity. It's not going to be just done once, but you need to engage them more and more in a more consistent way. So just a few tips here in terms of what you would need to do in order to have this kind of communication plan. So you need to define and refine information, very important. You need to actually not just leave the information loose ends, not just get the raw data and present the raw data, because that would be making absolutely no sense, right? So you need to present it in a way that you do all the chewing, all the digestion, and you present that in a tablet format, in a nutshell, in a way that is easily consumed by these stakeholders. It's not something, you don't get all the 1,000 pages of documents and present everything one by one. Don't go through that, because that would be a mess for them to even go through. You don't have to really do that. So you need to do the refinement. You need to do the congestion. You need to do the compression of that data, condensation of that into a format of nuggets and snippets that can be consumed by them easily. Content should be very strong and effective, and that's where compelling content, compelling presentation, have proper structure. Make sure it is all having a structure of introduction, what you did, how you went about doing that, who are the people, what are the kind of insights that you gathered at a high level, and then what are the detailed level if you want to dwell on that. Otherwise, you can jump straight into what you're going to do, what you're going to propose. Given this whole set of insights that you gathered, how is it going to help us in structuring our product roadmap, our product definition, our proposed process, whatever it is, right? So you need to have that kind of a structure in terms of how you're communicating that. Be concise and precise. Again, very important. You should be concise and precise. It's not, as I said, just because we've got like 120 interviews and close to about 5,000 pages of document doesn't mean you present all of that 5,000 document or the data to the people there, right? So you need to do that kind of compression, make sure that you're just up to the point, deliver what is important, what can be done. Use visuals, very important, because as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So it's very important. Use infographics, use graphs, charts, try and use those so that you can then deliver it more effectively instead of long paragraphs of text, which they don't anyway read because they're not interested. So, and be persuasive, very important. You need to be really hard hitting in terms of what message you're trying to communicate. What is it that you want the stakeholders to understand from your presentation, from your walkthrough, from your report? It should be straightforward, impactful, making sense to them and say, yeah, aha, yeah, I got it now. So this is what we should do. This is very important, very interesting. Why do they think like that? So this is the kind of thing that they might, you need to excite them. You need to, kind of give them information in a way that they are surprised, they're excited, they may be shocked if they're not heard the bad news or the bad side of things from the customer's point of view, the feedback. They might be really excited, elated, depending on how people feel about the product usage. Very nice, great usage, great experience. So whatever it is, you're trying to actually educate them. You're trying to expose them to things which they have not seen before, because this is rich, context-rich information. This is very, very powerful set of content that you have got. The data that you have collected is not available just anywhere on the internet or anything, because this is the customer. This is what our customers, our users, day in and day out, they're actually trying to say. So let's listen to what they've got to say about our products, about our brand. So we need to really, open their minds, hearts, and eyes to the to what could be potentially coming through in terms of the next few iterations of the product. And then obviously, once you have got that, all of this captured their attention and made sure you've got the point across, then you close it with some very powerful message in terms of what is the call to action, what should be the next step, what is the next action point. That should be the important. The action steps must be conveyed very crisply. So again, the whole purpose of this, obviously, as we said, it should be about a shared understanding of the information that you gathered from the elicitation, and then it should be communicated at the right time, right format, according to the needs of the people, the target audience. And again, be open to questions, be open to challenges from people. Understand if they've got any questions. Try and see, to the best of your knowledge, you can respond to those. Otherwise, you can say, I will go back to the users and I'll get back this. And then you would need to understand how that needs to be communicated, basically in a way that is, as we discussed, that is not only received by the people well, but also that is something that they can react upon, they can actually work upon, and that they can take some decisions based on these. That's very important. And in terms of the, as we discussed, it should be appropriate communication. It could be reports, it could be presentations, it could be documents, it could be anything, depending on there's no one size fits all approach here, depending on the attitude, depending on the kind of time that they have, depending on the availability and a lot of other factors. You can consider all those factors and then decide for your own how you would like to communicate the information back to them. And then in terms of the packages, I mean, this is just like a package. They say business analysis package, or you create a bunch of reports, a presentation, document, an email, all of this. How you would like to communicate it back. So it can be done through group collaboration. So basically, you're trying to get all of them into a group in a workshop, and you can mention that. Or it could be done on an individual basis. You actually get to the top person, perhaps the sponsor, and say, hey, by the way, I would like to have a quick 30-minute of your time to run you through this report which I've created. It doesn't take long. Just wanted to bring you to the up to speed with what has been found and what I'm going to propose. Just I want to run past you so that I can then broadcast it to the larger audience or something. And they'll be really excited. Wow, that's nice. So let's discuss, right? So you need to excite them to do that. And then obviously other ways, like as I mentioned, you can email them out. Typically, that's what I do. I email the shorter version of the report, just about 5-6 pages, executive summary as what we call, give that, and then the 400-page document, I won't show that to them, but I would use that in the presentation. I'd just say, hey, by the way, this is just run that past quickly to them and say it has got 500 pages. Don't worry, I'm not going to walk you through all this 500 pages, but I've created this presentation as a crisp one. So let's jump into the presentation. We can just have a quick look. We can talk about the highlights from this huge document. So that's the way I would typically do it. And then again, a lot of different techniques there. You can use interviews. As I said, we have got reviews. We'll talk about document analysis. We'll do workshops. We'll have one-on-one sessions with those people, right? So we can have one-on-one sessions or a group session. So again, the context of a workshop, or reviews and feedback and peer reviews. And before going to the sponsor, obviously you need to get it right. So you might want to run your report through to either your project manager or your team. Just ask them to have a look, a third eye review of the document and presentation to see if it's all good. Then you can push it off to your sponsor. So something like that you can do. And in terms of the stakeholders involved in this, as you know, every stakeholder is important. We have got domain SME, end users, implementation subject matter expert, pretty much like what we have been discussing in the last activity. We've got customers, users. All of these are important for us, either in terms of consulting or either in terms of seeking their advice, or even updating them about what came out from these elicitation activities. Or it can be about going back to them and then checking and querying or clarification, and then informing them about our next steps. So this is what happened, in fact, with the financial planning product I was talking about. So we did this exercise initially to understand how they use the data, what kind of plans they use, what kind of applications they use to do their financial plans, the reporting, how they use it, how often they use it. So that's pretty open-ended, explorative type of sessions. It's more like an interview, user interview. So we did that initially. And then based on that insights, we analyzed that all those interviews, about 19 interviews we did. And then we came back and we analyzed all those interviews across 3 different user profiles. We analyzed them, and then we came up with the insights, had the product roadmap, discussed that, created wireframes, and then created a prototype. And then we went back to them. I think about 12 of them were the original users, and the rest, about 8 or 9, were new users. So we mixed these different types of user participants, and we did a user testing with these to say that, well, we heard you, we listened to you, we talked to you, we listened to your needs, we understood your needs, your problems, your pain, and what you wanted to get out of this new product. And this is what we got it so far. And we are now we want you to help us if we got it right or wrong. So we did user testing of that with the users to confirm, to validate, and to check whether we are on the right track in terms of building this product. So that's where I was talking about. We created the Flash prototype of that, Flash version of the prototype, instead of the .NET full-fledged product, which is already going on separately on a different track. And we wanted to just use this prototype to see whether we have got the one information architecture correct, the content the content is striking the chord with the users, whether we've got the navigation, the menu, the structure, and the interactions, the overall look and feel of the product right or wrong. So we did that. We conducted user tests for these with the 21 users, which is mix of both old and new. And again, we got rich insights back from them. We conducted scenarios, we created scenarios, we passed those scenarios to these people, and then we did task tests, task-based tests. Do this, do this, do that. Can you click on this report? How do you find the dimension here? Select the dimension here, blah, blah. All those task-based testing. And then we got a lot of information from these user tests, insights, and then that helped us to structure the feedback and into the backlog, and then we created the product based on this. So that's how we engaged the customers and users continuously over a period of time and evolved the product. So it's a very customer and user centered product development. So very useful, very, very, because it's not something that you use every day, right? For you and I don't use financial planning. So it's a very niche kind of a product. So it's better to actually understand it from the point of view of the real users rather than be thinking this is what they might need and and get it all wrong. So it's good we engage them early on, we talk to them, understand their needs, build the product, or even if it's a prototype, just do the POC, take it back to them, validate it, evaluate the product or the concept, and then continuously improve that. So that way we can deliver what is needed, what is making more sense to the actual users, right? So that's the approach that we did with this financial planning product.